March 18th, 2010. James's funeral was today. I can't stop thinking about how wrong it all felt. He would have hated it. Everyone so stiff and formal, all pretending they weren't uncomfortable. James wasn't about fake smiles and polite goodbyes. People kept telling me, "It wasn't your fault, Ethan." I just nodded, but inside I was screaming. It was my fault. Every time I close my eyes, I hear him. We were laughing, having a good time on the way home from a fishing trip, and then the car slid. The sound of the crash. It's killing me. March 22nd, 2010. I saw something weird today. I was at the grocery store. There was this woman at the register fumbling with her change. She looked exhausted. Deep bags under her eyes, like she hadn't slept in weeks. But it wasn't her that caught my attention. Behind her, just barely visible, was something else. It was shaped like a person, but not quite right. Its limbs were too long, its back hunched, and its skin looked almost translucent. Its eyes glowed faintly red, and they never left her. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and it was gone. She grabbed her groceries and left like nothing had happened. Maybe I'm just tired. March 25th, 2010. I keep seeing things I know aren't there. This time, it was at the bar. There was a guy sitting at the end of the counter, nursing a scotch like it was his lifeline. He looked wrecked, like the weight of the world was crushing him. And behind him, there it was, a twisted shadow of a thing. Its arms hung too low, its head tilted unnaturally, and its red eyes burned in the dim light. It didn't move. It just hovered there, watching him. This time, rubbing my eyes didn't make it go away. I just stared at it for a moment. I left before I could see any more. March 28th, 2010. Everywhere I go, I see these things lurking around people who look broken, sad or angry, guilty or afraid. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but now I'm not so sure. It's too consistent. They look too real. There was a woman at the diner today sitting alone at a corner table. She kept staring at her coffee, not drinking it, just staring. I felt for her. You could see she was battling with something. Her hands were shaking, and I could see tears streaming down her face. And there it was. One of those things standing just outside the window beside her table, looking directly at her, its red eyes burning brighter than ever. I looked around to see if anyone else noticed it. No one else saw it. I don't even know what to think anymore. Am I crazy? March 29th, 2010. I was visiting James's grave today. First time since the accident, and honestly, standing there looking at his gravestone made me feel sick. It's the first time it's really hit me, what I did. If I had just slowed down a little, James would be alive. But he's not. Why did he have to die? I was the one driving. It should have been me in the ground, not James. It's all my fault. If I could change places, James, man, I would do it in a heartbeat. When I was driving home, I saw another one of those things. But it was different this time. It was standing by a tree as I drove past. It was getting dark, and I couldn't really see, and for a minute, it seemed like it was looking directly at me. First time that's happened. I know it's all in my head. At least I hope. March 31st, 2010. It's getting worse. Man, so much worse. I see them everywhere now. On the street, in stores, at the gas station, always near someone who looks like they've hit rock bottom. It's like these things are human, but they're not. I smashed up my place today. It was a brief moment of intense anger and guilt I've been keeping inside. I couldn't help it. It just came flooding out all at once. Now I feel even worse. After, I sat down, and in the corner of my eye, by my window, I saw red eyes in the dark. I jumped up terrified, but when I looked, it was gone. Man, I need help. April 2nd, 2010. I've been trying to figure out what these things are, or why I'm seeing them. I started digging through old forums and paranormal groups, looking for anything that might explain them. Most of it was junk, ghost stories, and conspiracy theories, but then I found a post by someone named Wallace Graves. He said he's been seeing creatures like this for years. He calls them the Ilas. He thinks they're drawn to people's guilt, fear, and trauma, which coincides with when I see them. I reached out to him. He told me they're not just there to watch, they're feeding, that most people don't see them, but if you do see them, you're marked. What the hell does that mean? I've stooped to a new low, asking a random crazy person online for help, but his words stuck with me since. I don't know, man. April 6th, 2010. Something changed. I was walking home from the store tonight, and I felt it, like the feeling that someone was sprinting up behind me. I turned around, and there it was, one of them. But this time, it didn't disappear when I looked. It wasn't attached to anyone. It was standing at the end of the block in the dark, facing me. Its red eyes glowed brighter than the streetlights. I took a few steps forward and called out, asking who it was. It didn't respond, it just stared at me. In that moment, I felt a massive wave of fear. I wasn't sticking around to find out what it wanted. I ended up sprinting the rest of the way home, not looking back. April 10th, 2010. I approached Wallace again. Maybe he isn't crazy. I asked him to explain everything. He said he believes the Ilas come from a place he calls the void, a kind of limbo between life and death. Apparently, he'd been researching ancient texts, old civilizations that told of red-eyed people, exactly what I've been going through. But there's more. He said, once you start seeing them, they notice you too. He said, the more you look at them, the more they look at you. And once they start looking, they don't stop. I asked him what happens when they get close enough. He just stared at me for a minute. He looked scared of the question, but he said not to worry. He'll make sure I'm safe from them. He told me to come back in a few days while he gets a few things that'll help banish the Ilas. This all sounds crazy, but what else am I supposed to do? April 13th, 2010. Wallace is gone. I went to his house today to ask about his progress with the ingredients he's gathering. The door was open and everything inside was overturned. Papers, furniture, everything. His journal was lying on the floor, open to the last page. It said, "They're inside now. No more running." That's when I saw him. His lifeless body was laying behind his couch. I can't unsee his face. It's like he was terrified to death, like the last thing he saw made his face freeze in the terror he felt. I can't get it out of my head. If Wallace is gone, that means... I got out of there as fast as I could, called the cops, and went straight to the bar. I need to let off some steam. April 16th, 2010. I can't take this anymore. Everywhere I go, I see them. In the shadows, in reflections, standing just at the edge of my vision. The one that started following me gets closer every time I see it. It doesn't move, but it's always there. When I sleep, I dream of it. When I work, I see it. When I look in the mirror, it's behind me. I can't take this. I can't take this. I can't take this. April 18th, 2010. I'm leaving. I need to get away from all of this. It's too much. I can't sleep. It's everywhere I look. I feel it even now as I'm writing this. I don't know where I'm going, but anywhere is better than here. What if Wallace was right? If he was, I'm going to die soon. Maybe it's for the best. If I did, I'd be getting what's coming to me after what happened with James. April 19th, 2010. I'm in some cabin deep in the woods, a few hours outside of town. I saw I saw something in the rearview mirror of my car sitting in the back seat. I saw the red eyes. I abandoned it on the side of the road and bolted through the woods until I found this place. I'm hiding. I've been here now a few hours. Someone must have died here. I see a massive engraving on the wall saying, "Rest in peace, Annabelle Harper." I wonder what happened to her. Anyway, I think I'm safe. I haven't heard or seen anything since arriving here. April 19th, 2010. It's found me. All I can hear is footsteps. It hasn't stopped all night. Whoever or whatever it is, they've been circling the place for hours. Walking around the cabin again and again. I can hear the leaves crunching, slow and steady just outside the walls. I thought of grabbing something as a weapon and going out there to confront it, but I couldn't do it. I was too afraid. I can't escape it. Please make it stop. April 20th, 2010. It can't be. I saw James. He was standing in the clearing this morning, just looking at me, smiling. For a second, I thought it was really him. I ran out, crying, falling to my knees, begging for forgiveness, telling him how sorry I was, that it should have been me. He didn't say anything. He just smiled, and then his face started to change. His skin turned gray. His eyes glowed red, and I realized he's one of them. I bolted back inside and slammed the door. I can't even fathom what's happening. He's still out there. He's calling to me now. It's his voice, but it isn't James. It can't be. Maybe he's come back to take me, how it should have been at the accident. No. James wouldn't do this. He was my best friend. My brother. I'm holding out here until this thing leaves. April 21st, 2010. I've waited all day and night. It's still there. I can't wait any longer. I'm leaving. I don't care where I go. I just have to get out of here. I'm making a run for my car again. I ain't crazy. I can't help but think I deserve all of this. Is this the world's way of punishing me for what I've done? I'm a killer, a murderer. He's dead because of me. James, my brother, I'm so sorry. I'll write again when I'm safe. Ethan's car was found the next morning, mangled at the bottom of a ravine a few miles from the cabin. He was killed instantly, his face frozen in terror. His journal was recovered from the glove compartment. Authorities ruled the crash an accident caused by speeding, though locals reported that Ethan's car swerved off the road in his final moments, almost like it was intentional. One witness claimed to see someone in the passenger seat of his car, though no one else was found in the wreckage.